I can't see y'all.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our very first session of Tech Week 2021. Thank you for joining us today.
We are so thrilled for our very first session to have the most wonderful Harley DeKaiser from Albany Middle. And she is going to share with us awesome ways to use Chromebooks in the classroom. So without further ado, we will go ahead and I'll get this presentation on the screen for her. And then we can go ahead and get started.
Any questions you have, make sure you throw them in the bottom of the chat and we'll make sure she sees them throughout the presentation.
Absolutely. So take it away.
All right. First off, is there any way I can see y'all or can I only see my presentation?
You can only see your presentation with StreamYard. That's kind of the way it works. So just remember to keep smiling.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that. All right. Good morning, guys. I am, like Miss Heather said, I'm Harley DeKaiser. I'm from Albany Middle. And I was blessed with the Chromebooks this year for my classroom. So with a lot of tinkering throughout the year, I was able to figure out the best ways to use Chromebooks in my class. And so I just kind of want to share that with you and give you the information, the basic information on what a Chromebook actually is. And so I'm actually presenting on a Chromebook right now. So throughout the presentation, I'll be able to go to the dashboard and show you firsthand what the dashboard and the different things look like on the actual Chromebook versus how they would look on a regular desktop. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Also, I use my presentation template from Slides Mania. They're awesome. They have tons of great templates. So look into that throughout the year to use that for your classroom. So I want to go ahead and get started just to talk about what is a Chromebook and how we can integrate that into your classroom. Basically, here's my overview slide that we'll be looking back through throughout the presentation. There is a fabulous Chromebook simulator that I found. So we'll get to use that link later on in the presentation. It's really good if you're brand new to the Chromebooks or you're not really sure how to work. It'll lead you through step by step to kind of get you to complete certain tasks. That way you know your Chromebook a little bit better. All right, so what is a Chromebook? So basically a Chromebook is just a laptop that runs the Chrome operating system. And you'll see that shorthanded by Chrome OS if you're with Google, if you're dealing with Google information. But it is a web-based laptop and various manufacturers produce those. So like currently I'm on a Dell Chromebook. I know HP creates Chromebooks, Acer, to all of those. And each of the different manufacturers may include different features on them. The best thing is that every different Chromebook that I've looked at takes the same charger. So it is a USB Type-C charger that you can plug in. And my Chromebook actually has a charging port on both sides. So my children or my students think it's great to just throw them in the cart because, oh, Miss Harley, they have a charging port on both sides, but I like mine, you know, nice and neat, all facing the same way. So that is interesting and it's helpful if you're stretching your charger to the max length. There is a charging port on both sides, but a lot of people's biggest question is, you know, what is a Chromebook versus a laptop? How can we use those? What's the difference? What is it good for? Pros and cons, those types of things. So we're going to go ahead and look at some of the advantages of a Chromebook. My favorite advantage of a Chromebook is that there's no messy desktop. It is not a desktop like a regular laptop. So there's no program installation. There's no software programs that you have to install on the desktop itself. And I'm going to take this time to show you. So if you're on the web and you minimize, it's a clean screen, which is very simple and great for our students. I have my Chrome open right now, so that's where my Chrome bar is. And then this is the home button over here in the corner. Once you pull it up, it has all of your apps and all of your files, different applications, the web store, camera settings, those types of things. You can also create folders on this shelf is what they call it for a Chromebook. You can create folders and group together your most commonly used applications, or if you want to go through individually for each of your Chromebooks and create a file just for your specific class, you can do that as well. So this is what our home screen or our shelf looks like. And we'll talk about that more in a few seconds. So there's no messy desktop. which is very nice and very clean. I know my students throughout the year will say, oh, Ms. Harley, I can't find Clever. I don't know where it's at. There's too many icons on this desktop. Or what is this icon? We've never clicked on it. We've never used it. So it's very sleek, very simple, which is great for a 6th grade mind. The next thing is the battery. The battery is very, very beneficial as well because it is long lasting. So I thought it was funny because my computers have been stored in our library since the last day of school, and I opened one up today and it was like 98% because it hadn't been used. So I really appreciated that about the battery. I can get through a full day of classes with the battery on the Chromebook and not have to charge them as long as they follow my class routine rules, which is, if we're doing think, pair, share, or collaboration with your shoulder partner, that they close the lids of the Chromebook so it can go into the sleep mode, which doesn't turn it off. It just puts it to sleep. And then when they're ready to use it, they can open it back up. That also helps the battery life as well. The next thing is storage space. So because it is a web-based Chromebook, there is not a lot of local hardware storage. Some of them are 32 gigs, some of them are 64. It just depends on the manufacturer that produces the actual Chromebook itself. But everything is web-based. So it's a much easier task to save something to their Google Drive or to save something to their O365 or their OneDrive if they're on Microsoft. So I don't have to go find things in the Z drive anymore. I don't have to go take and switch, we can't use jump drives, those types of things. So everything is web-based. So the things that they're working on, they can share or save easily to their web drive, their cloud, their Google Drive, OneDrive, whichever they're using. Another thing is that it boots up in seconds. And when I say seconds, I mean like 5 to 10 seconds is the boot up time. So you push the power button on the side and it immediately pops up with a login screen. The fabulous thing about these that our district gave us is that it's automatically picking up, or that it registers that it's a livingstonschools.net Chromebook. So they only have to type in their username, like Harley.DeKaiser, their first name, last name, because the other handle at livingstonschools.net is already loaded onto them, as long as they were updated correctly when they first got to your school. Then we also have, with that login process, if you are using a third-party site like Quizzes or Nearpod, and you have your students log in with Google, their Google account, so you can populate, sync your classes together, it will automatically sign them into that as well. So that's a bigger benefit that I like also in my class, because with my Spanish students, we use Quizlet, we use Quizzes, we use a lot of different third-party sites. And so those were easier to get into for my students instead of having to create a brand new account or to sign in again with their Google account information and credentials. And then also the Chromebooks automatically update about every 6 weeks. And we'll go into that a little bit more when we talk about the security of them. But I really like that as well. And the process is much quicker than the laptop updating for the Windows. And so about every 5 to 6 weeks, we'll get that update message in my class. And so we just take a few minutes, and it's pretty quick. It goes through, and then Chrome automatically pushes those out just like your regular laptops do. So it's not something that you have to go into and find the link and update and upload it yourself. All right. So another big question about these is, can you customize a Chromebook? On laptops, you can customize your desktop icons. You can move around your programs, different things like that. Yes. So on the Chromebooks, you have what you call a shelf, which is going to be the black bar at the bottom of the screen, where your applications are featured, and your home button is in the bottom left corner. And then we have our battery and our clock info in the bottom right corner. So you can personalize your shelf, which is basically your taskbar, with the most commonly used Google apps that you may use. You may also create shortcuts to any websites that you may use. And once the app launcher page is opened, which you just click on your home screen to do that, your home button, you can right click and customize the icons on your shelf. And the biggest hurdle I found this year was that, the no desktop icon things threw the kids for a loop. They were completely confused. They had no idea what to do. They opened it, logged in, and then they just froze. because they're so used to these laptop routines where they go straight to Clever, they go straight to Google Classroom. This Chromebook does not have icons. And so they were like, wait a minute, we don't know what we're doing. So what I did was I created a school, just like a school or a class launchpad site. So on my personal teacher website, I created through Google Sites, I had a tab and it featured all of the links that we used on or in my class. And then anything else like the Livingston Parish Clever page or the school's website, the parish website, those types of things. I had a shortcut to those. So they acted as icons. They just weren't cluttering up the students' desktops like their home screens, which was a lot easier to manage as well because they knew exactly what to do to open the home button and go straight there. And then the files application on the home screen on the app launcher will also feature any files that you have downloaded or any files that you have actually saved to the hard drive itself, which remember, it's not a big amount of storage that they have, but it is there is some storage if you have to do something quick on the Chromebook. Okay, so here's some time specs for the Chromebook itself. 9 to 11 hours of battery life. That is if you're using them minimally in your classroom. So like if you're just using it for a bell work, obviously they're going to last all day. If you're using them all hour, which I don't recommend doing all hour every day because then you're going to have to plug them in at some point. But for the most part, they do last the full school day. Like I said, as long as they're following those practices for, to advance your battery life. Again, the boot up time is 15 to 20 seconds, super quick. There's no more waiting for the little dial to just spin and spin and spin while the kids are logging in. Even though we haven't been in school 2 weeks, so these haven't been worked on for 2 weeks, it instantly booted up and I instantly logged in and it pulled up right like normal. So a lot of the times on the school laptops themselves, it takes a while to download everything and to get everything going. DRC takes a while. On Chromebooks, we don't have DRC, so there's no program installation on there. So we don't have that to slow it down either. The 6-minute inactive sleep mode is something that we use in my classroom. If they're not working on it for 6 minutes, it will automatically just go to sleep. And you can change that in the Chromebook settings. You'll just have to do that individually on each of your Chromebooks. There's no way to like mass push that out to your whole, or I haven't found a way to do that yet. And then, so after 6 minutes, if they're in group work or they're not using their Chromebooks at that time, it'll go to sleep. And so when that happens, my students were trained, oh, it's sleeping, let's close the lid. That way we can maximize our battery life. And that way the next class has it, to use for its full potential. And so with these time specs, it just allows for more instruction and production and collaboration. My students have more time to work on their things because we're not chasing down chargers or rolling around power towers to try to get those things to them. And with the instruction, it also maximizes that time as well, because at the beginning of class, we're not having to wait 5 to 7 minutes for laptops to all pull up and to get everybody on the same page. I think that's one of the biggest issues I had this year with my laptops before I got Chromebooks was I would have 12 kids ready to go, and then 7 of them were still loading, still trying to get into their stuff. So that was a great benefit also this year with the Chromebooks. Okay, so this is kind of where the kids, they have seen similar things to the Chromebook home screen. So the app launcher is very similar to different smartphone dashboards. And so when they pull up their home screen or their home button, their app launcher, whichever one you're comfortable calling it, it pulls up all of the apps. And so they are familiar with this format because that's how their apps look on their cell phones. And even if they don't have a cell phone for them, for their personal use, video games, they have, most smart technology devices are laid out with apps and in that format. And so my students actually caught on to the home screen and the app launcher very quickly because it was so similar to their phones. And they were like, oh, it's just like you push the home button on your iPhone and there's all your apps right there. So that was also an ease of mind for me because I was able to, get them to catch on to that connection very quickly. And so, and I have like the examples, the iPhone, the Android, the Google phone, those are all very similar. The layouts are very similar to the actual Chromebook app launcher themselves. All right. So the security is a big thing with Chromebooks. At first, I was skeptical on using them for certain things just because I didn't know the secureness of the Chromebook itself. But after researching, I really, really do think that they are probably the most secure thing that we have. So the web-based apps lessen a likelihood of a virus. So everything's web-based, and so you're not downloading a certain software. You're not downloading these things to your computer where it can carry a virus through the files or what have you. And then the sleep mode for students can also require a password login. So if you want your Chromebooks to request them log in again after sleep mode, you can do that as well, which, could lessen the mix up in student computers or lessen a student logging into somebody else's that's not there, So the sleep mode, you can require that. Like I said, you'll have to go into your settings and set that for you, whatever you like the most. And then there's also longer periods between re-imaging, which I liked also because you're not having to give up your laptops or give up your Chromebooks for a day or two for your whole cart to be re-imaged. With the automatic updates pushing out every 6 weeks, they're able to keep that system running and keep the Chrome OS clean and just clutter-free and running to its max potential. And then also the automatic updates improves the antivirus protection as well. And then Chrome has, or what they call sandboxing, which is pretty interesting. So for viruses and stuff like that, I know on district material, it's very unlikely that we get a virus, but sometimes things happen. And so sandboxing is what Google calls each tab and each application that runs in itself. And so that's why they call it sandboxing, because it's in its own little box. It's in its own little application manager, task manager. So, Control Alt Delete on a regular laptop can close out everything. So these you can close out one by one. And if it senses any malware, any dangerous files or anything, it'll close it out. But that is one thing that it does as well. And so also assigning the same students to a specific Chromebook, that increases the security and increases the running speed. And I know that's the same case on our laptops. In our classrooms, we like to have the same students log into the same laptops or the same Chromebooks daily. So you only have 6 students logging into this one Chromebook throughout the year versus just random amounts because you're just passing them out whenever. And so it also influences a positive routine. When my students came in to class, they knew sit down, get out their materials, and then we would call Chromebooks, 1 through 5, 6 through 10. And so they just had that routine every day because they had the same Chromebook number that matched their desk. So they knew whatever desk they were sitting at, that was the number that matched their Chromebook. And so it also, it just maximized my instruction time because they knew what to do. They knew where they were going when they came in. And it also gave them a purpose to get their work done. They knew, okay, this is what I have to do. So this is what I'm doing. And I can be the most successful if I do it this way. So the security is one of the things that they are upping as well. They have constant updates through the Chromebook, the automatic updates, they make it more secure. And then we'll talk one of the features on Google Forms with Chromebooks. We'll talk about that here in a second. But if you've used Google Form, then you know that on a Chromebook, there is a way to lock. There is a way to lock your tabs and lock those things. So we'll look at that in a second as well. Okay, so the accessibility features are they're minimum, but they do help. You can zoom in. I have a touchscreen Chromebook, so you can zoom in with your fingers. There are accessibility features for select text to speech, whole screen, maximize. You can make part of your screen maximize. There is a Chromebook simulator. So I'm going to click on the Chromebook simulator link. And it's going to bring us to the accessibility page. Hopefully. Yes. Okay. And so all of these in the Chromebook simulator, and like I said, this is great for somebody who is brand new, not really familiar with Chromebooks. Play around with it. You can see all of the different tasks that it'll let you do. It has popular topics, keyboard shortcuts, which are fabulous for a Chromebook. You are going to need your shortcuts, and I have a slide on that at the very end. So we're going to look at the explore the accessibility features. And so you can turn them on and it will walk you step by step on how you can do this on your own Chromebook whenever you get them or if you have them already. This will walk you through step by step, and you can follow the steps on the screen. You can change your accessibility to advanced, different things like that, manage them, and it will give you can turn on your text to speech where it will show you how to highlight those texts. If you have a student that, needs that text to speech wherever I know we have different programs to use for that also with your Google extensions. And they have high contrast that you can use to change the color. You can make your whole screen larger. So I really just encourage you to use the simulator to walk through the different steps of, exploring the different features of your Chromebook. It really helped me when I was able to, when I got them, I didn't know what they were. So I was able to use this Chromebook simulator to go through and learn the basic ins and outs of a Chromebook, which was really beneficial as well. Let's go next slide. All right. So the main portion of this is just to talk about how the Chromebook has helped us with using our G Suite. And so the biggest thing is with Google Drive, the organization of it is fabulous, and it's so clean and it's so clutter free that my students are able to find things quickly. They can file them away, save them in their class folder. From Google Classroom, it talks, and so the organization of a Chromebook has helped a lot. So we don't, like I said, we don't have local storage, so they're not saving things to the computer, to the Chromebook itself. They're just saving it straight to their Google Drive, which helps organization on the back end, which is beautiful from the teacher standpoint. Also paperless. So I tried to run as little paper in my class as I could this year. And so it also helped having the Chromebooks because they were able to access those G Suite for Education applications quickly and not have to worry about shuffling through papers in their book sack. And then, like I said, on Google Classroom, we've seen Google Classroom. We've worked with Google Classroom. It was very easy for them to go straight there, work on something, turn it in, boom, and done. And it's a lot quicker and a lot easier because this Chromebook is built for Google. And so the applications run seamlessly and they run so well together on the Chromebook. All they had to do was click on their home button, go to their applications, and they're there. Their Google Drive's right there. Mine was set up a little bit different for my classroom. If they were opening slides, if they were typing a response for Google Docs, if they had to, whatever they were working on, they were able to work on that through their Chromebook, which was great. Also, another thing that we ran into a couple times this year was working offline. So sometimes our network was giving us issues, and the kids love to play that Dino game. That's why I featured that right there. That on the screen. And so, when they think no internet, we can just play the dinosaur game and that's fine. We'll call it a day. But on Google Drive, you can access different files and you can choose to create or make them offline files, which I had my students use a couple of times while our network was giving us issues. So on the Chromebooks, they were working offline, and then I just had them leave the Chromebooks on, and then by the time they fixed the network, all of their stuff automatically uploaded, and it was still there, which is very similar to, I know you can work on Microsoft and things offline as well, but it's so much simpler when you can just work on a Google Doc and then save it straight to your Drive, or if the network is out, work on it offline, and then you can save it to your Google Drive whenever you connect back to the website. And then I liked the customizing the shelf, it made it easier for my students to find exactly what they needed. And I had reset them for the summer because I wanted to change a few things. But I didn't have all of these apps on my home screen. I only had a few. I had moved them into folders where they couldn't really see them, but they could see them, but they didn't have to go digging for them. So I had a few things. I had, Chrome. I had a couple shortcuts to the things that we used daily. And it was really easy for them I would ask them, okay, go to your Clever. And they knew, just like the icon on a laptop, they knew exactly where to go and how to open it. And then, I could shortcut different resource websites that we use, different links to different, Reflex Math, iReady, those things. We could link those as well and have the shortcut on their shelf for them. And then the G Suite auto login, whenever you log into your Chrome browser, I had the kids log into their, when they log into the computer initially, it automatically logs them into the Chrome browser. And so all of their extensions, if they had any, the ones that the district pushed out, those are automatically uploaded. And then some of my students had a Bitmoji, and so they enjoyed using that on some of their Google Slide projects. And so all of their extensions would just carry over as soon as they logged into the computer, which was nice. So basically just took another couple steps out of their day to log into that, because it was automatically logged in on the front end of logging into the computer. And so Google Forms, on Google Forms, when you create a quiz, if you're using it as an assessment, you do have the option to lock them on Chromebooks. And so I'm not going to get into that because I know some people have already used that, or they may not have Chromebooks, but there is an option when you go into the settings. You can lock the tabs and the students cannot get out of that screen. They have to take the assessment, they can only go. So it's not beneficial if you want them to use an article to annotate, or, to have resources available on other tabs. But if you're just giving a quiz or an assessment or a test on Google Forms, then on a Chromebook, you can lock that screen. That way they cannot have access to any other of the web-based sites. All right. So these are some of the apps that I use throughout the year. I did not use all of these because overwhelming, but these are some of the apps or the websites that we use. They're all web-based, like I said, again, which is beneficial on a Chromebook. You don't have to have programs installed, different things like that. And with the third party, as long as they were logged into their Google, then it automatically logged them into their Edpuzzle or their Kahoot or their quizzes, Quizlet, Wiser, whatever, what have you, whatever application that you're using. So those were a lot of the things that we used to create. On Quizlet, I had my Spanish students create study stacks, and they could log in and they could actually share them with each other. Since they were logged into their Google account, they could share those. They could collaborate on Google Slides with their partners or with their group members, creating presentations, typing opinion responses on Google Docs, using Nearpod, those different things like that. So the collaboration feature was very beneficial as well. And I have a panel, and I'll be doing the panel session, the advanced panel session on Wednesday. But it was very simple to also cast my students' screens to the panel. And I'll talk about that on Wednesday. But they really enjoyed being able to see their groups work on the screen. And you can do that with a laptop as well. But when they was working with their Google Suite, with their Google Slides or their Google Docs, it was beneficial to have that just right there ready to go for them to cast their screen to my panel. So, and then sharing, they can share everything. Google Drive is a button away, Google Classroom a button away. And so they were able to share and turn in their things and then go straight from their Google Drive, pull straight from there, and not have to filter through the computer file load, those types of things as well. All right. So these are some of the shortcuts that are beneficial or are the most commonly used on a Chromebook. So that you have your browser shortcuts from the ICT Education magazine. You have your Chromebook tips. Those are just different tips. Keyboard shortcuts, screenshot shortcuts. We use screenshot a lot, especially if students are wanting to draw on top of something. I had my students, screenshot. You can do the whole screen, portion of the screen, very similar to Snippet, the snipping tool. One of the other obstacles my students had was learning the trackpad, the mouse pad. And so there's no right click button like a laptop. It's just one solid mouse pad. And so I had to teach them, which way to scroll, because the scrolling is a little bit different. Drag and drop in, right click in, those things. Again, once you use them, the more you use them, the more you learn them. And so it was simple to have those things printed out on a poster in my classroom. That way the kids could just look, have anchor chart, look at all the different shortcuts and be able to access those things and have shortcuts to make their collaboration process a little bit quicker. So we also have, I'm going to go back to let's see. I'm going to go back. Well, not that far. Back to the customizing. So I just wanted to go over another thing really quickly. So once the app launcher is opened, you can also drag and drop. I forgot to mention this earlier. You can also drag and drop things to your taskbar. So if I wanted to drag this down there and have like the most common, the most common things that I use daily or that my kids use daily, I can also drag and drop them and customize their taskbar. Or you can open them up and they'll pop down here also. And so whichever you have, you can also add different things to your, like I said, add shortcuts, which made it a lot easier. If you have students use Screencastify to, go over anything if they're doing a presentation, you can use that as well. And so I like the fact that you can customize that just like a laptop, and it's not limited to what you can shortcut to as well. Very similar to like bookmarks that you have in your Chrome browser. So this is like the little file, the little task manager at the bottom. So if you click on it, this is how your students are going to sign out daily. And when you sign out, I'm not going to do that, but when you sign out, it'll bring you back to the, the login, the Livingston Schools login page. I did notice that when I received my Chromebooks, you do have to click try a different account each time with the student's login, or it will give you an error message. And so I don't want you to think anything's wrong. Yours may not be like that, but mine was like that. So if you're having that issue, that might be something that you can work on. And so you can, screen capture if you want to take a screenshot, your sound brightness, power, those different things. You have your sleep mode. Like I said, if you just leave it alone for 6 minutes, then your sleep mode will kick in. Unless you change that to a longer period of time. I believe you can change that as well in the settings. So that's basically Chromebooks in a nutshell. We have really benefited in my class just by the amount of time that we've been able to cut down on logging in and re-updating laptops and finding chargers because my batteries are lasting longer with a Chromebook. And so those are some things that I have noticed on the Chromebooks that have just made my classroom better. And so I really hope that if you have Chromebooks that you use them as well, or you can use those in different ways to maximize your instruction and your student collaboration for your projects. And I can't see the chat. So is anybody sending?
Harley, I thought this was so great. And I did not even know about the shortcuts that you could do like a custom screenshot. I didn't know you could do that. I've only been doing the whole ones and it's been driving me nuts. So I'm so excited about that one.
Yes.
Did you know that you can also screen record now?
Yes. I did know that. I haven't tried it, but I read that somewhere.
Well, I just dropped a link in the chat that kind of gives you a how-to on how to do it. I have not tried it yet either, but I did. That was like something that they've been really pushing out, saying, hey, you can do a screen recording now. It's built in so that you don't have to use like a Screencastify or anything like that.
That's really nice.
That's really good because it just saves directly to your Google Drive since that's where everything goes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm trying to get to the YouTube page now because I'm not.
No, this was so great. All of the comments we've been able to answer them as we go.
Okay.
So, I thought this was fantastic.
I know it's a little short, but
no, that's perfect.
No,
okay.
So comprehensive.
Ramble.
Nope, it was great.
Definitely very comprehensive. And so look, I just dropped the link to her presentation as well. So because there's so much great stuff, make sure you get this. And that way you can go back, you can look through it. Do not hesitate to reach out to us or to her. If you have any questions about anything, that is what we are here for. Share this out with your friends, let them know. And then last but not least, make sure you do the survey and attendance link. Okay, we do have some door prizes. So you've got until next week to watch as many of these as you can and do your survey and attendance link so that you can possibly win a prize. But we want to thank you for taking time out of your summer to share your amazing wealth of knowledge with everybody. We super duper appreciate you.
Really do.
Yes. And we just hope that everybody has a great rest of the day. Coming up next is copyright in the educational setting. So if you are worried about, copyright and how that works, definitely tune in with us at 9:30.
All right.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Everyone.